You're recording the session?
Yeah. Just started the recording. Just turned up the volume. So we'll start with our motivation. And before we do that even, we'll just check our posture. Posture is very important. One may have been quite busy during the day or lazy during the day, whatever what happened during the day. Now one is establishing a posture with the recognition that one is going to participate in a session involving the teachings, the sublime teachings of Lord Buddha, as passed down to us by great masters of the lineage, and in this case, Lama Tsongkhapa. So there's that sense of, what should we say, maybe sort of creating a sacred space, which starts with how we, how we sit. So there's a certain stability and a dignity to the posture, which I think we're all familiar with. The main features, of course, the uprightness. The back is upright, the front of the body is open. There's a sense of stillness, sense of relaxation, together with vigilance, being very awake, as alert as we can be. And this is essential because the task is very great. The motivation is one that is initially sounds very extraordinary, ambitious, outrageous even. The thought that we could work for the benefit of others continuously until all beings are awakened. This, of course, is a very unusual and almost outrageous way of thinking. So for that, we need a tremendous amount of perseverance, courage, open-hearted quality, and the posture reflects all of that. But at the very least, one could adopt some of the instructions that are given in this very text on how to listen to the teachings. So we listen with a sense that we are sick with the disturbing emotions, and that the dharma is the medicine. And that we need to take this medicine, in this case through listening and reflecting and meditating as much as we can on the teachings. to somehow bring them to life in our daily living. And then there is the aspiration, highly recommended aspiration, that that the dharma, that these teachings last for a very long time to benefit beings. So that's one aspect of how to prepare our minds for the practice. Another very important factor, of course, is the motivation of great compassion. This we can arouse in so many ways, but we could think how beings, although wanting happiness, somehow, they're kind of helpless in the sense that they don't have very much idea how to create the deep causes of lasting happiness, and mainly merely searching for short-term satisfaction or pleasure. And not only that, but due to the power of habitual patterns and the short-sightedness that comes from ignorance, beings creating the causes for suffering again and again and again without stopping. Then when we see the horrendous kind of ripening of collective karma that so many beings are experiencing now in this world, all forms of life, and the animal world and the human world, tremendous collective ripening, leading to tremendous devastation, distress, elimination of species, and all the rest, the war, the famine, the diseases. So given this situation, I suppose we must avoid the tendency to be overwhelmed, or to be in denial, or to just say, well, yeah, what can I do? So just ignore, kind of thing. So remembering that every single living being with the consciousness has the Buddha nature, we must do what we can to help beings activate that, plant seeds that will help to uncover our deepest wisdom, Buddha potential. So think that by engaging in this session together, we will come that bit closer to being of great benefit to ourselves and others. A few verses from the calling the Lama from afar tradition, and then we'll sit quietly for a little while to help stabilize the mind and prepare for the main body of the session. Alas, sentient beings such as I, wrongdoers with negative karma, wander continually throughout samsara since time without beginning. Even now, stuck in the experience of endless suffering, disillusion does not surface even for a moment. Master, know me, look on me swiftly with your great compassion, and bless me that renunciation arise from my inmost depths. I squander this human existence I've obtained with its freedoms and assets, forever diverted by the meaningless doings of this life. Laziness keeps me from accomplishing the supreme aim of liberation. I will return empty-handed from this land filled with jewels. Master, know me, look on me swiftly with compassion. Bless me that I make this life meaningful. Not one being on this earth will fail to die, and at this very moment, one after another are passing away. Though I too soon must die, foolishly I plan to live indefinitely. Master, know me. Look on me swiftly with your great compassion. Bless me that with no time to waste, I focus on what matters. Hostile towards my enemies, attached to my friends, benighted by delusion as to what to embrace and what to shun. While practicing the Dharma, I'm overcome by stupor, dullness, and sleep. And when engaged in non-dharmic activity, my senses are bright and clear. Master, know me, look on me swiftly with your great compassion. Bless me that I subdue my foes, the klesh, the afflictive emotions. Not recognizing my own failings, I impersonate a practitioner of Dharma while carrying on in all manner of non-dharmic ways. Thoroughly habituated to klesh and negative karma, even when, time and again, a virtuous intention strikes, again and again it is cut short. Master, know me, look on me swiftly with your great compassion. Bless me that I see my own faults. The teachings speak of our basic goodness, basic sanity, if you like, that we all have a basic nature that is spacious, that is full of warmth, kindness, and that is highly intelligent, wise. And usually it is shrouded, isn't it, with a continuous cacophony of thoughts, concepts, images, delving into past, projecting into the future, and so forth. So allow there to be that sense of spaciousness, without agenda, without hope or fear. Without expectation. Milarepa said, the great yogi said, like a lion, I have no fear. Like an elephant, I have no anxiety. Like a madman, I have no expectation, no hope. Before we look at Tsongkhapa's text, let's recite the refuge prayer once in English and, for those who know, twice in Tibetan. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha, and the positive energy that I generate by practicing giving and the other perfections. May I attain the state of a Buddha to be able to benefit all sentient beings. Sangye chadan zaki chanam la jancha badu danyi kyapsu chi nagi jinso gipe sonam ki dola penche sangye do bajo sangye chadan zaki chanam la jancha badu danyi kyapsu chi nagi jinso gipe sonam ki Dola Penchit Sangye Dobara Sho. Okay, thank you everyone again. Welcome to latecomers. So we're looking at the chapter in Lama Tsongkhapa's great treatise on the stages of the path to enlightenment, on the varieties of karma, varieties of action. And we've been through the 10 non-virtues. And Tsongkhapa, as we have seen, has gone into some detail describing them. And really, it's up to us to investigate more and to read the commentaries on this. But it's enough for now, I think, what we have looked at. In some centers, of course, they have study groups where they would meet regularly and discuss some of these teachings so that things become clearer and clearer for those who do want to go into it in great detail. Now we come to what Tsongkhapa calls distinctions of weight, the weightiness of karma. Which he divides into two parts: the weights of the 10 paths of non-virtuous actions, referring to the 10 unwholesome actions, and then two, the criteria for powerful actions. So now the weights of the 10 paths of non-virtuous action. 5 causes make an action more weighty or powerful. As exemplified, if we take the example of killing, they are as follows. Actions of killing that are weighty due to the attitude would be those done with intense forms of the 3 mental poisons. So if they're done with extreme ignorance, extreme anger, attachment, again and again, and so forth, that makes them very weighty. Killing that is weighty due to the performance is as follows. 1, say you are killing with a mind that is delighting in and being glad about having taken life, or taking life, or about taking life in the future. 2, you are engaging in the action yourself, or you're causing others to take it up and praising it. 3, doing it with a mind that is pleased when such a thing is seen, and doing it after prolonged premeditation and preparation. So it's not like we speak about crime of passion, where in a passionate moment of jealousy or anger or something, you kill someone. And then, of course, you may very quickly regret because what you did, you were just taken over by an emotion. But here it's saying you have, for a long time, you have planned how to kill, prolonged premeditation and preparation. 4, it becomes weighty through doing it constantly and diligently, and each time killing a great deal. 5, killing your victim by torture. 6, killing after frightening your victim into performing inappropriate actions. 7, killing while your victim is weak, suffering, or impoverished, or while the victim is moaning or piteously reciting laments. I mean, there's quite a bit of detail here. It's as though, it's like one has images of war or violent movies and so forth, So this makes a killing weighty due to performance, which in terms of result, when we look at the 4 results of karma, this kind of killing would have really definitely have the power to throw one. It would be like a throwing karma, which could easily throw us into a very suffering rebirth, hellish kind of rebirth, this kind of killing. The other end of the spectrum, killing where you actually don't want to kill, but you have been ordered to, or forced to in some way. That's the other end of the spectrum. Okay, killing that has become very weighty because there is no antidote. There's an absence of any antidote that's being applied. So one, you're killing while you're not taking any precepts on a daily basis. If one were taking precepts on a daily basis, one of those, one of the main ones would be not killing. But we're not doing that. 2, while not doing such things as observing one-day vows on the new moon or on the 8th, 14th, or 15th days of the month, or we're doing it while not occasionally being generous, collecting merit, speaking about the teachings, making obeisance, rising when a respected person enters your presence, pressing your palms together in respect, or having an attitude of veneration. He seems to be implying if one were doing all these things, they would naturally act as an antidote to killing. But we don't have any kind of antidote. We're kind of, implication seems to be we're kind of rough, sort of brutish kind of personality who doesn't have the refinement, that have just been mentioned. We don't do those kind of things. We're not generous. We're not respectful. Absence also. So while not, so we're killing and also not from time to time becoming ashamed. We're not becoming embarrassed. We're not having a preponderance of contrition, of regret. It's not there. So there's no antidote, yeah. And 4, and this would apply to so many, we haven't reached yet a state of freedom from worldly attachment, and neither do we have a clear knowledge of the teachings. So not having a clear knowledge of the teachings, not having any kind of state of freedom from worldly attachment makes us much more prone to engaging in non-virtue. So it becomes much easier to engage in non-virtue, such as killing, such as, say, things that people often take for granted as a kind of, say, like a leisure time activity, like fishing, like that, which is, you have this image of a person sitting very calmly next to a lake or river, or standing up and casting the line into the river, and then you have, catching fish, and there are images, aren't there? You often see images of very proud people, holding a big fish they've just killed. So this is lack of freedom from worldly attachment, and also lack of a clear knowledge of the teachings. Because if we had a clear knowledge of the teachings, we'd be aware of the horrendous karma involved in killing a fish, which we have no idea about. Because we don't really see the fish as that, a being with feelings or pain or anything. We're just ignorant about that, about karmic cause and effect. I remember Lama Zopa Rinpoche would often quote the teachings where he'd say, if you kill a fish, then it kind of creates the karma to be reborn a fish 500 times in the future. So, okay, 500 may or not be an exact figure, but point is, one is creating karma that one should really consider whether one would be prepared to experience that. Killing that is weighty due to clinging to the perverse means that it is done in reliance on any kind of wrong view. For example, there are those who kill out of a desire to be religious, relying on the views of those who make animal sacrifices. They think there's no fault in slaughtering livestock because the laudable beings, that could be a reference to Ishvar, not sure, created them to be used by us. I mean, there's these horrendous images you get in Nepal at Dasera of decapitated buffaloes, so many decapitated buffaloes, which are killed very often in a sort of ritualistic way, and the blood collected in a certain way. So that is considered, something that is going to please a worldly god. And even if it does please the worldly god, then it is totally the opposite of a dharma action. It is killing. It is very very negative. There's killing that is weighty due to the basis. So this means taking the life of a large animal, a human, a fetus, your parents, your aunt or uncle, someone such as a guru, a close friend, a learner, that refers to someone on the Hinayana path, right? Learner, I think. Bodhisattva, an Arhat, Pratyeka Buddha, that would be very weighty. Often this is just people, in the teachings we're often told it's, someone like your parents or your guru, holy being. Also, it is killing which is weighty due to its basis. When you may know that a Buddha cannot be killed, and you bring forth blood from a Buddha with an intention to harm. I don't know why. Well, why must be because of the unbelievable merit of a Buddha. It's basically impossible, it is taught, basically impossible to kill a Buddha. It would not be possible. I don't know why, apart from just that sense that the merit is so great that they cannot be killed. Unless, of course, they want it to be, to show the aspect of being killed. So anyway, you may know that, or not know it, I guess, but you attack and you cause the Buddha, this means, of course, a human flesh and blood Buddha, not the Sambhogakaya, you bring forth blood with the intention to harm. So that would also be incredibly weighty due to the basis. I think it's sometimes called weighty due to the object, because all of these objects, aren't they? Animal, human, parents, and all that. Killing that is done with the opposite of these 5 kinds of causes is a light killing. So we've had 5 causes. Weighty due to attitude, weighty due to performance, weighty due to absence of antidote, weighty due to clinging to the perverse, and weighty due to basis. So, then you could work out by putting together what would be the very worst kind of killing would be, you can put together some of the worst aspects of each of these 5 categories, and that would be unbelievably negative killing, the worst kind of killing. You should understand that the weight of the remaining 9 non-virtuous actions is similar to killing, except for the bases, which are as follows. Stealing is weighty due to its basis if it involves a great deal, taking good things, stealing after deceiving those who trust you, stealing from the lowly, the impoverished, renunciates, or other Buddhist practitioners, or involves stealing what is highly valued, stealing the property of learners, arhats, pratyeka Buddhas, the Sangha, or stupas. Sexual misconduct that is weighty due to its basis, sleeping with those whom you should not have intercourse with, your mother, those who are her relatives, the wives of men who are close friends, nuns, probationary nuns, female novices. In terms of inappropriate body parts, sexual misconduct that is weighty due to its basis is oral intercourse, in terms of improper time, it is intercourse with someone who is observing a one-day vow, a pregnant woman at the end of her term, or one who is ill. In terms of an inappropriate place, it is intercourse in the vicinity of a stupa or within the compound of the community. Compound of the community probably here refers to monastery or nunnery, but probably, I'm not totally sure. Lying that is weighty due to its basis is through desiring to delude and deceive, telling lies with many purposes, telling lies to those who've helped you, from parents through to the Buddhas, to good persons and to friends, and telling a lie that gives rise to one or more of the three weighty actions, killing, stealing, and sexual misconduct. So you tell a lie which causes somebody to, murder or steal or have sexual misconduct. Telling a lie in order to split apart the Sangha is the weightiest among all of these. Divisive speech, that is weighty due to its basis, is speech that splits apart those who've been friends for a long time, teachers, parents and their children or the community, and divisive speech that gives rise to weighty actions, killing, stealing, sexual misconduct. Offensive speech that is weighty due to its basis is speaking offensive words to parents and the like, or to someone like a guru, speaking offensive words with untrue and inaccurate lies, and directly scolding, criticizing, or reproaching. Senseless speech that is weighty due to its basis is as follows. The weight of the senseless speech of the three other non-virtuous vocal actions, lying and so forth, is as above. Other actions of senseless speech that are weighty due to their bases include senseless words based on fighting, fault-finding, disputes, and divisions, such as reading the treatises of non-Buddhists with an attitude of attachment, ridiculing, taunting, or speaking inappropriately towards parents, kinspeople, and someone like a guru. Covetousness that is weighty due to its basis includes desiring the offerings made to the Sangha and stupas, and with arrogance about your own good qualities, desiring to receive from kings and the like, or from learned religious companions, profit and services for your knowledge. Malice that's weighty includes malice directed towards parents, kinspeople, gurus, those without fault, the poor, the suffering, the pitiful, and those who have done something wrong to you, but confess this to you from the depths of their hearts. Wrong views that are weighty due to their base are the rejection of all the fundamental religious tenets. This is weightier even than other wrong views. So rejection of all the fundamental religious tenets. And also the view that in the world there are neither arhats, nor are those who have reached reality, nor those who've entered reality. Understand wrong views that are the opposite of these to be light. The levels of yogic deeds speaks of 6 ways in which actions are weighty. Due to conditioning, actions motivated by intense forms of the 3 mental poisons. Habituation, frequently doing or becoming used to and deeply involved in either virtuous or non-virtuous actions for a long time. So this is positive or negative actions. So if one is habitually engaging in patience and generosity, becomes weighty, but in a good way. Nature. By nature, among the 3 physical and 4 vocal actions, the former ones are weightier than the ones after them. And among the 3 mental actions, the latter are weightier than the former. So among killing, stealing, sexual misconduct, killing is, the worst. Among the 4 vocal actions, lying is worst. Among the 3 mental actions, the latter are weightier. So among the 3 mental actions, the wrong views are weightier than malice and covetousness, which is interesting. So it's so important not to have wrong views. The basis or the object, actions that help or harm those like the Buddha, the teaching, the community, and gurus. And I think sometimes they include parents. So if you harm or help those beings, it becomes very weighty one way or another. Fixation, being fixated on incompatible factors. For as long as you live, you completely take up non-virtuous actions. Do not cultivate virtue even once. Or if you eradicate the unfavorable factors, having eliminated the group of non-virtues, you become free from attachment and cultivate virtuous actions. This is very important for those who really want to yeah. Any questions so far? Any comment? One way it's kind of clear. Yeah, did you have a question?
I was just thinking about when right now we're discussing about going against the, let's say, misbehaving with the parents, and if a parent does not want a child to go into a particular tenet system, like let's say to study a particular religious thing,
yeah,
what would be the weightage of that? If the parents are like forcing you not to enter into a different path, and you are stubborn, like I want to do that.
What do you think? What do you think? Good question. What do you think? What would it depend on? From what we've read, would following other teachings necessarily be motivated by anger or attachment or ignorance towards, parents? Are you killing, stealing, sexual misconduct? Which of the 10 non-virtues are involved there against the parents? For example, are any of them involved? Of course, we all have a modicum of ignorance, of course. We may be perceiving them as existing from their own side and all of that. But is there any, what would you say? We're not killing them, we're not stealing from them, we're not engaging in sexual misconduct, we're not lying to them, we're not, of course, if we're saying it abusively to them that you idiots, I'm definitely going to follow Buddhism and you idiots don't know, what you're talking about, that of course is harsh speech. But if you're not saying that, if you're not lying, if you're not trying to divide them, if you're not trying to, one parent agrees with you, the other doesn't, so you want to divide them for your, you're not trying to do that. It's not, you're not engaging in any senseless speech. You're not doing it with covetousness. You don't want anything from your parents as a result of, following some other path. You don't, you're not having malice towards them. And where's the wrong view there? So you could think of it that way.
You would lie to them.
Sorry?
You could be lying to them.
Yeah. Of course, there is the sense that if you know that by saying I'm going to a Buddhist center or I'm interested in Buddhism, you will, through your knowledge of your parents or one of them, it's going to really, really make them suffer a lot, then you have to be careful, I guess, and not advertise it and sort of quietly, study without them knowing, without that person knowing. And then it would depend on intention a lot. I mean, a lot of this depends on intention, don't you think? What's your intention for studying something other than what your parents want you to study? Are you doing it to just be, I'm going to do it, to be a revolutionary, to, what's the word, you're so fed up with your parents that this is one way you're getting back at them? If it's that, then I guess that's a little tricky, no? But if you're genuinely interested and can develop a good motivation and maybe think about how you can even gradually introduce your parents to what you're studying. But yeah, it would be very difficult if a parent is really against it. Say they're very strong, this or that or the other, then they would be very upset. If they're very traditional, strong, anything. I was going to say Catholic, but maybe anything. And then they would be very upset.
Kabirji, so this question came to my mind because in the morning I was listening to Tushita Delhi's one of the session where he said that one of his students' father was a staunch Christian, a Catholic Christian, and she was kind of, her father was not happy that this father is doing that, and they said, just please introduce my father to me, and he refused. But after 1 year, then he said again, and Geshe-la said that you can introduce your father to me, and then she said, no, I'll what if he says no? Then Geshe-la says that your duty is just to tell him. His work is either to say yes or no. But after 1 year, when Geshe-la again called him, so he came, and then they had a discussion on that, and that's how slowly he introduced. He was introduced.
The skillful means.
A coercive management.
Yeah, it can work. Yeah, especially if the person has a lot of merit, like the teacher has a lot of merit, or has great compassion, or is a bodhisattva or something. Then their power to influence beings is very great. I mean, potentially. Although, as you know, there were people who thought the Buddha was a scoundrel. So it also depends on karma, doesn't it? Some people thought Buddha was a scoundrel or a liar or whatever, including his cousin, although that was very much also based on, I think, envy. But yeah, it's that's a good point, because I guess the purer you get and the purer your motivation and aspiration in your life, then the more beneficial effect you have on others in general. Doesn't mean you can turn everybody into a friend, but there's much more power and capacity to do so. You understand what I'm saying? Yeah. It's just common sense also. If you're an arrogant, very rigid sort of person, so-called teacher, then, obviously you're not going to have that much effect on people who don't appreciate even your tradition. But people may not appreciate initially your tradition, but if you're really kind and wise and, pure practitioner, then I suppose you would have a lot more ability to turn other people's minds. Yeah.
With respect to killing, you could be killing beings indirectly, not directly. For example, some people eat meat, some people even drinking milk. For some people, it could lead to killing of animals, cows, buffaloes. Does text talk about this kind of indirect sort of a killing?
I don't know. I don't know if it's in the text. Probably it might be in some text somewhere, but I don't know of it. But we can say that there's no direct intention from one side to kill. Okay, it's like when you're walking in the dark, say, and you step on ants or even on something bigger. But there is some karmic weight there. There is some karma, I was told once. It's like, I think once Samdong Rinpoche was talking about how if one takes one's vows seriously, then you should always look into the glass of water you're drinking, for example, to make sure there's no little being in there. Because if you drink it and there is a little being in there and that being dies, you're not intentionally killing it. but due to some degree of carelessness, a being has lost its life, right? So then you do incur some slight fault. Yeah. With meat eating, again, you see, there again, you will read teachings where the Buddha allowed his monks, right, to eat meat so long as they didn't kill, so long as they knew it wasn't killed, especially for them, and so forth. But then there are also Mahayana sutras, which, like, they come down so heavily on meat eating, like the Lankavatar Sutra, Descent from Lanka Sutra, incredible kind of harsh tirade against meat eating and all the things that are going to happen to meat eaters. So, kind of take your pick, and also read, I haven't read, but if you wanted more nuances, I guess you have to read, you have to read Abhidhamma Kosh, right? You have to read Vasubandhu and all his teachings on karma. Venerable, what do you recommend people to read to learn more about these things? There must be these kind of texts, karma, Vasubandhu. But yeah, you see, also, if you have knowledge, you've seen documentaries, say, on Netflix or whatever, you know what's happening in the dairy industry, the meat industry, and you still, taking dairy products or eating meat, then again, obviously there's some karmic fault incurred, don't you think? Because, yeah, one is participating in something, but because with karma, the critical factor is intention, you're not intending to harm. But then someone might say, when you know clearly that your action is linked to a whole process, a system where beings are suffering, then you are participating. There is, how can you say there is no intention when you have the knowledge?
Not know it is fine, right? But once you know it, then it becomes a different ballgame.
Well, yes, but then again, you have teachings which are going to come a little bit later, I think, in this chapter, that it's like law says, ignorance is no excuse under the law, So the more ignorant you are, the more laws you will break, let's say, of a society. Say you don't know there's a law against stealing, and you're just merrily stealing, and you say, well, I didn't know there was this law, but, you could be put in jail for a very long time, or, whatever. So it's like, yeah, it's not knowing sometimes is a no, because
also promoting this actions, right? These actions by these certain people. For example, if people stop eating meat, right, there'll be no butchers, there'll be no killing of these innocent animals, right? But you start eating it, so there'll be people who would want to serve you so that they can earn money. So indirectly, you're also advocating and making these people kill these animals, which might also
you're participating in some way, yeah. But again, there's no intention to harm directly. You're not having an intention while you're eating the meat to harm. But there is, of course, some karmic, there's a pollution, maybe the text would say some kind of pollution involved with that, or there is some harm involved, obviously, which is why I suppose some sutras are so against meat eating, because it's not like we're eating the meat like some great compassionate person or great tantric practitioner who's really, praying and maybe even able to benefit the consciousness of that departed animal. We're not like that, we're greedily eating that, the meat, let's say. So again, of course, we're not eating it in any kind of reverential way. We're just eating it for the taste and, the pleasure we get from eating it. So that seems to be very different from eating with a reverential attitude and praying for the animal and so on and so forth. So all these things, I guess we have to take into consideration. But initially one gets surprised when one thinks, Buddhists should be are so peaceful and against violence, and then you read that the Buddha allowed his monks to eat meat. But not meat that they knew was specifically killed for them. But then that's because of the Buddha's understanding of karma.
If the animal has been killed, somebody's going to eat them, and it's being offered.
Yeah.
You choose not to do it, and you throw it in the garbage, then you're wasting.
In that sense, it's even in one way worse. In one way. Yeah, someone's going to eat it. If not you, then bacteria and something.
Specifically killed for you, then you accumulate a lot of negative
Yeah.
because you are the cause of killing of that.
You are, and yeah, you are in one sense the cause, a very major cause. Yeah, the family know you're coming. They kill the chicken for you. Yeah.
Also, Kabirji had this question regarding karma, wherein you talked about ignorance and not being aware of certain action and the consequences of that action, right? And there are certain people who are not aware; they still do that action. And then you also talk about karma is more like the imprint that is left on your mind, on your consciousness, and then that consciousness keeps traveling and keeps going from one lifetime to another lifetime. But if you're not aware of certain action, how can there be a negative imprint on your mind if you don't even know that there's going to be a negative consequence of a certain action?
Well, because you perform the action, which is by nature negative, like killing. You might think killing is okay, but you think that then killing, which is always done with some level of aggression, according to the teachings, it's very hard unless you're a bodhisattva to kill without some aggression involved or anger, apart from the ignorance, of course. So then you think that if you keep on doing that, there's not going to be a karmic imprint on your consciousness?
Not the action, but a state of mind.
There's still some, there's ignorance and there's a subtle aggression involved. But there is an intention to kill. It's just that the predominant factor there is ignorance, which is also a delusion. So, with the intention, they give the intention. There's the object, then there's the intention. Ignorance is one of them. It's not like you have to kill with anger or attachment. Killing with ignorance is also very highly. In one way, that's the most dangerous because it means you'll keep on doing it because you don't think it's negative. So, doing it with ignorance doesn't seem to save you from the consequences. Not at all. Not at all. Yeah. Ignorance is a kind of intention, I suppose they're saying, is a motivating factor, powerful motivating factor, together with anger and attachment. What do you think, Venerable? Come on, Venerable and Ajivji have done so much more study in the last 10 years than I have.
It reinforces a habit.
Reinforces the habit, yeah, exactly, yeah. Keep on doing it. Life to life, you keep on doing it. Wow. And Rinpoche might say, then life to life, one life you're killing fish as a fisherman, then next life, you could be either a fish that gets eaten by other fish or you become a predator fish that likes eating other fish. That kind of karmic result could be there. Or if you're lucky enough due to other factors to be born human, because of other good, throwing karma, but you have the habit wanting to fish, having no problem killing fish and enjoying it as a, pastime or whatever. Or having that karma that you again are born as a fisherman who has to earn a living through killing. I was, when I was in Goa earlier this year with my brother, then, one thought about these things walking on the beach at Miramar, and there's a fishing community there near Panjim. And so many fish, even though there are less fish in the sea now due to various factors, but so many fish and so many little fish, and so many other things in the net, and then crabs and other things. It's just, you feel, wow, and they're just throwing these things around as though it's just bits of, cotton or wood or something, not even living beings, or it's one can imagine, the karma is very strong. And they're not doing it with anger. I don't think fishermen go out and fish with anger. They fish more with attachment, right? Because it's their bread and butter.
There's a negative emotion, negative affliction involved. Right?
Of course, attachment and ignorance are negative.
If, let's say, somebody kills without any of these afflictions, be it anger, attachment, or ignorance,
then they'd have to be a high bodhisattva, like the bodhisattva's killing of the merchant. That was beneficial. Which, as you remember, didn't just involve compassion, but had great wisdom, and clairvoyance and so forth. So if we have all those things, fine, but if we don't, then we have to be careful. It's like if we don't know if our mercy killing of an animal that is injured or our pet dog is dying and we want to put it out of its misery, then if we don't have clairvoyance, we don't actually know whether our action is going to be beneficial or not.
And then Kabirji, every action that we take in certain sense has its own consequences, right?
Yeah.
And most of the times we're not even aware of those consequences, right? For example, simply eating rice, right? We don't know how many beings are killed in that whole process.
Yeah, before, not as a consequence, but as a causes,
Yeah.
you could say, conditions to bring the rice into,
That means that there's no end to it, right? Because you don't know. You don't know what's happening behind this.
I guess that's what samsara is about, actually. It's like some lamas say, you can't fix samsara. You have to cut the cause, but you can't fix samsara itself, it's unfixable. You have to be free of it. You have to get free of it. You can't fix it. It's just endless. And seeing something online. What about using harsh words to someone being close to you? Although intention may be motivated by a misunderstanding, you believe that person did to you. Sorry. What about using harsh words to someone being close to you? Although intention may be motivated by a misunderstanding, you believe that person did to you. Sorry, maybe, do you want to explain that in Hindi, maybe?
Yeah, actually,
or English?
can you hear me?
Yeah.
Am I audible?
Yes.
Yeah, so actually this is about someone using harsh words to kind of obviously cause pain to the other person, even though that person believes that, my intention is because that person did something to me, hence I can use those harsh words. But obviously the weightiness is much lower scaling, but does that have weight at all?
Well, using harsh words due to a misunderstanding, are you saying?
Yeah.
Who has misunderstood whom?
Yeah, so a close friend has misunderstood me, and instead of
and they are getting angry with you, or you are using harsh words to them?
They're using harsh words to me when I'm already at a low state in my life, and they know about it and everything. And the intention is like they know that I'm in a state, like for example, I'm in my 7th month of pregnancy, I have anxiety, they know all of this, and they do this. They use these harsh words, and because they feel I have done something, which they don't want to clarify, but they're constantly kind of doing this on a very regular basis. I don't know if that has any weightiness.
Of course it does. Yeah, of course. I mean, karma has weightiness, but yeah, they're doing it again and again without any kind of real empathy. That seems quite weighty to me. But where's the misunderstanding there? You also mentioned misunderstanding. What's the misunderstanding?
it's like they said that we're doing, like the person said that I'm doing this because it's something you have done, but I will not tell you what.
Oh dear. Oh,
And
that,
so you're totally lost and you don't know what, right? And
that sounds, yeah. Just you have to use a lot of patience, forgiveness, and just, yeah. Yeah, there are situations like that, aren't there? So what can one say? They are creating a lot of negative karma there, it seems to me. So our you know, our good Buddhist response would be you have to feel compassion for them as much as you can, because they're creating a lot of negative karma. And so you have to not react in a negative way.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
But yeah, it's not a nice situation. I'm angry with you. I'm not going to tell you why I'm angry with you. That's really kind of, you have to say, you have to join your hands together and say, you know, kind of, you're the greatest, you know, kind of thing. Yeah. And, let go. What can you do in that situation? It's like, it's a kind of blackmail, it feels like.
Yeah.
Trying to make you feel even worse, you know, trying so that you'll lose sleep, trying to think about what you did wrong, you know. It's a kind of mental torture. I think we humans are very creative in the way we harm each other, don't you think? Very creative.
Yeah.
And so sounds like this might be one of the ways. So you have to feel sorry for that creative person. Don't you think? Otherwise, you just get upset and angry and resentful.
Well,
and
obviously,
then,
it's had an impact. I mean, it just you cannot prevent the suffering that it would cause to me, given that, you know, and even though I haven't done anything, and I have this suffering, even though I have been always compassionate and loving to this person, so it's caused a lot of sleepless nights. It's caused a lot of health issues, a lot of more anxiety in me. Although I'm obviously trying to let go, but it's just, I don't know if, you know, people understand the impact of that action. Just why I was curious.
Yeah. That's very tricky. I think only a lot of practice would help someone to deal with such a situation with equanimity, you know. It's because we have a lot of teachings which can help, but then one has to put them into practice, and that would take something, you know. Because if you could really think that, okay, this basically non-enlightened beings have problems, are sick, have delusions, you know. So in one sense, of course, they're going to behave this way, you know. Can't expect them to behave properly because they're deluded, they're mentally sick. But then there's still that, it's like a stab in the heart, right? When people use that kind of language with one. So it's very, very, very unpleasant. And presuming this is somebody, you know, close to you, or, you know, relative or something. So that's even worse in a sense. So then again, one has to think about karma. That might or might not help. Think that it's not just random. One has to then work on oneself, because somewhere along the line, the cause has been created to experience this kind of thing. And then also you have to think that, you know, just because a person thinks or says something to you, you don't have to believe it. You know what I mean? It's like they're just saying it as though, you have to think they're saying it as though they were delirious. They are totally deluded and the slave of their delusion. So what they're saying is a kind of nonsense, you know?
Yeah.
So you have to think that really they're acting with the mind of a child, a sick person. So, you know, how can you really be upset too much by a sick or a crazy person? You know, say you were to go to a mental asylum. Someone says, come, you know, you have a friend or someone, you know, works in a mental asylum. And you go there, and then some people say, now, you know, some very strange things to you at the mental asylum as you're walking to your friend's office or whatever. So you wouldn't take it too badly, would you? Because you know they're mentally sick, you know, it's a mental asylum. So it's a bit like that. if one can see others as, it is a bit of a, we are pretty insane, right? The world is pretty insane in one way. So if one could see it that way, that of course insane people are going to act insane. Why would one expect them to behave sanely, So it's almost, you see what I'm saying? It's like you have to look at it in a different way. But it's very difficult, obviously, because
That helps. Thank you so much.
We're being related to someone who's not nice to you, and then one then feels bad about oneself. The self-image gets hurt. So then again, we have to, if we were interested, one could look at the teachings on self-image, on what it means. What is an identity? Who am I? All that stuff. Krishnamurti, one very great Indian teacher. Have you heard of Krishnamurti?
No.
Anyway, there's a very great teacher, Jiddu Krishnamurti. He's dead now, but he was very great, you could say, sage, wise person who very much started schools and so on and so forth. He said something very interesting, which we can only aspire to, I guess. But he said, is it possible to live your life without any image of yourself, without an image that I am this, I'm that, is it possible to live without a self-image or kind of self-identity? Meaning, can you just be like a sort of a free spirit, a kind of spacious free spirit? So that, whatever anybody says, it's just sound, it's just echo. One is a free spirit. It doesn't hit you because there's nothing, solid to hit. You know what I'm saying? Well,
yeah,
it's like, because we have a very solid self-image, right?
Yeah.
At least I do, very solid self-image. And when people say nasty things to me, it really affects me, even though I listened to many teachings and spoken many, things, it still hurts. So this guy, Krishnamurti, is asking, can you live without any image? And also the Buddha is working towards that. Can we totally deconstruct our idea of who we are? And then if we could, we would not take things that seriously at all. Because now we take everything seriously, right? He said this to me, these horrible things to me, and I've been kind to him or her, So deconstructing that heavy me. The Buddha actually said, all my teachings are to guide disciples gradually to understand that, to understand the right view of who you are, who we are, how we exist, to cut the ignorance, holding on to this very solid self-image. So anyway, the more we maybe think about this or study some things and reflect on them, it's more helpful. But I find it helpful, and it's helping me right now in my life, actually, for a particular reason. It's helping me to see other people as very, very sad and sick, So of course, sad, sick people are going to behave in a very strange way. So in that sense, you don't need to take it personally. You see what I'm saying? It sounds nonsense, but it's, they're going to behave that way in all sorts of ways with all sorts of people, and have been doing so since beginningless time, and we all have in some way. So no need to take it too personally. A person who is very sick and nauseous, they could vomit in the dust. They could vomit in a beautiful jewel bowl. They could, vomit anywhere, but they're going to vomit. So don't take it personally.
Yep.
But this is rather very aspirational, what I'm saying. If you can if one could bring it into practice, it would possibly be useful. Okay, it's 8 o'clock now. Thanks, Tanya. Very, very pertinent. And I hope you have more happy times with, and
Thank
have you, and if you can study some literature, it might be helpful.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I will.
Okay. Okay, we should dedicate now. It's 8 o'clock, and everyone's been very patient. So thank you. Let's dedicate that we understand more and more deeply what Lama Tsongkhapa and the tradition are saying about the weight of karmic action, and try to understand, as our lamas, our teachers keep on telling us, so that it's very important to maintain basic ethics and be very careful about karma, because actions have consequences, and the reason we suffer is because we are experiencing the ripening effects of unwholesome action, unwholesome karma. There's no other reason. Of course, based on delusion, based on ignorance, anger, attachment. So may we take this to heart. May we practice in accordance with this as much as we can in our life. May all these great teachings last for a very, very long time. May we never be separated from authentic teachings and teachers. May those teachers have long and healthy lives, especially may His Holiness Dalai Lama, all the great teachers of all the traditions, have long and healthy lives, and may we continue to be benefited by them. We must pray for right now, also especially for people in the Middle East who have been experiencing incredible suffering for many, many, many years. So both for the the Jewish people who have suffered historically also a great deal, and of course also for the Palestinian people who have suffered tremendously, incredibly, unbelievably, and all of whom are suffering right now, whether in Gaza or in Israel. So especially the parents on both sides, the parents of the children who massacred at their rave party in the desert, who over 250 young people, I guess, mostly killed there, and then all the hundreds who are being killed right now in Gaza, and men, women, children on both sides. So here, where suffering is concerned, we're not taking any sides. Obviously, everyone is suffering, tremendous suffering. So we pray for them, for peace to be restored there, for peace to be restored in the Ukraine, where people have been suffering from this particular war, at least for 593 or so days. So may that come to an end, as soon as possible. Shantideva says, may beings think of benefiting one another. Yeah. May all the sanghas be harmonious. May all the centers be most beneficial for sentient beings and become more and more beneficial. And may quickly we see the reincarnation of our kind Lama Zopa Rinpoche, who benefited countless people with his tireless efforts in his last life. May he again be reborn among humans and benefit us as quickly as possible. May all those who are bereft of refuge and help, may they find helpers, may they find inspiration, may they find renewed hope in their lives, all those who are depressed, and so forth. And those who can, of course, in these times of great challenge and so forth, which will require tremendous reserves of perseverance and courage, may we all develop more perseverance, more courage, more compassion. Together with great wisdom that realizes the dream-like nature of our appearances. Okay, thank you very much. And tomorrow we have Tara Puja. We have Tara Puja at 6:30. Thank you. Thank you very much, Yash and Tanya.